Welcome. I am Petty Officer James Fraser. I am the Recruiter Military Career Counselor and Qualified Force Evaluator here at His Majesty's Canadian Ship Chippewa in Winnipeg, Manitoba. And today we are going to be talking about the Canadian Armed Forces Force Evaluation, or fitness test. The purpose of the evaluation is to assess the ability of reserve applicants to perform common military duties prior to enrollment. Common military duties include tasks that Canadian Armed Forces personnel may be called upon to perform regardless of their environment, that's Army, Navy, or Air Force, their age, their gender, their rank, or their occupation. So technically the evaluation is not a physical fitness test, even though it's in the name and that's how we commonly refer to it, but it is a pre-screening evaluation to confirm Canadian Armed Forces Reserve personnel can meet the Canadian Armed Forces operational standard. The minimum operational standards are related to universality of service, which in short is that the standards for the expectations for all Canadian Armed Forces members are universal. For example, if a person needs to be dragged to safety, it doesn't matter if you're in the Army, Navy, or Air Force, your age, your gender, your rank, all members need to be capable of pulling that person to safety. And that's what we're evaluating here today. Just one quick note, I'll try not to be too confusing. For applicants, the test is actually not called the force evaluation, it is the PROFS evaluation, which stands for the Primary Reserve Operational Fitness Standard. This evaluation is nearly identical to the force evaluation. There's a couple of very small differences, so we usually just refer to it as the force evaluation so people don't get confused. The main difference is that the PROFS for applicants is just pass-fail. In the force evaluation, you're scored, you can be awarded bronze, silver, gold, or platinum. It's tracked throughout your career, and there can be rewards based on good performance. However, for applicants, none of that is tracked, none of that matters. You just need to meet the minimum standard in order to be enrolled into the Canadian Armed Forces. So today we are going to be demonstrating the 4 components of the evaluation: the 20-meter rushes, the sandbag lift, the intermittent loaded shuttle, and the sandbag drag. We will be reading the official instructions for each one of the components. We will be demonstrating them in detail, and I'll also give you some of my tips and tricks from years of experience of conducting force evaluations. We have Sailor Second Class Lauren Murray here today to help us with the demonstrations. Let's get to it.
Hi, I'm Stu Murray. I'm a port inspection diver here at HMCS Chippewa, and in my civilian life, I'm a student nurse at Université de Saint-Boniface.
Prior to your evaluation, you will receive instructions from the recruiting staff, such as making sure that you don't exercise 6 hours prior to the evaluation. You want to make sure that you're fresh and ready and not have tired muscles. Do not consume alcohol or chew tobacco for at least 6 hours prior to the evaluation. Do not eat, smoke, or take stimulants like tea, coffee, energy drinks, pharmaceuticals, etc. at least 2 hours prior to the evaluation. Now, as far as the eating goes, there can be some confusion here. You don't want to eat a large meal right before you do physical activity, but a regular pre-workout snack I think is a good thing, like a banana or an energy bar or something you would normally have for pre-workout. One thing I do not recommend is actual pre-workout energy drink, because that's really high in caffeine. And one of the things we're going to be doing before the test is taking your blood pressure to make sure that you're in a healthy range to be able to complete the evaluation without any risk to your health. So you don't want to go over on your blood pressure test because you've taken a whole bunch of caffeine. Sometimes people are nervous, their nerves are up. There can be things that get your heart rate up that are going to make it so that you're unable to do the test at that time. Make sure that you bring your ID. You need your identification to conduct the force evaluation, and dress requirements. The dress requirement for the force evaluation is standard PT attire, that's physical training, so just regular gym clothes are fine. Before the beginning of the test, you will receive the welcome brief, which goes a little something like this. Hello, Lauren. Welcome to your PROFS evaluation. My name is Petty Officer James Fraser. In the event of an emergency, we will use the back exit right over here to safely exit the building and meet at the muster point. If you have any injuries, please inform your evaluator before you begin the test. We don't want to exacerbate any injuries that you may have. Unless you have a medical chit, wearing braces is not permitted. The use of gloves and chalk is not permitted. However, you are allowed to wear knee pads, compression sleeves, or athletic tape to protect your fingernails. If you need to use the restroom during the evaluation, that is allowed. Just please inform your evaluator so that they're aware of where you are. The prof's evaluation is made up of 4 tasks and must be completed in the following order: the 20-meter rushes, the sandbag lift, the intermittent loaded shuttles, and the sandbag drag. Candidates will take a mandatory rest period between each task that consists of a minimum of 5 minutes and a maximum of 8 minutes. During this period, you are allowed and encouraged to drink water, you can walk around and stretch, you're allowed to sit, whatever you would like to do during your rest to recover and prepare for the next task. A task is terminated when one of the following scenarios occurs. Either you successfully complete the task, you choose not to continue. Reasons for this could be fatigue, pain, injury, etc. Or your evaluator becomes concerned for your safety due to immediate signs of serious distress. So if I have any concerns at any point about your safety, possibility of injury due to performing one of the tasks incorrectly, I will stop the evaluation at that point. Do you have any questions before we continue?
No, I'm ready to get started.
Perfect. Before your evaluation begins, we do a mandatory warm-up, and your evaluator will walk you through the warm-up. So first off, we're just going to start by walking back and forth across the gym and doing some dynamic movements to warm up the different body parts. So we'll just start walking, and we'll start with some arm circles. And you can change direction halfway across the gym here. Just go back the other way. Back the other way, we're going to do arm swings across the chest. You can swing, or if you're more comfortable, you can stretch and hold. Whatever is a good warm-up for you. Back the other way, we're going to move on to lower body, and we're going to do some high knees. Halfway, we're going to switch to kickbacks here. Okay, great. We're going to take it up into a jog, and we're going to jog there and back. And we'll go back one more time with the jog. All right, next we're going to sidestep. And we're going to change direction halfway. Okay, and then we're going to cross over. And change direction halfway. Okay, great. Now we're going to do some stationary exercises. Okay, so we're going to start with some side bends. Next up, we're going to do squats, and this is very important because this is going to warm up the muscles that are going to be used for the sandbag lift. And you can do kind of 5 to 10 squats, warm up those muscles. Next up, we're going to do some stationary lunges, so stepping forward. The next one we're going to do is push-ups with a hand release, and this is going to be simulating the motion that we're going to be doing for the 20-meter rushes, so this is good practice. So we're going to step forward, get down into push-up position, into a plank, come all the way down to the ground, and perform a hand release, which is lifting your hands up off the ground, about 1 or 2 inches off the ground. Then we're going to do a push-up. We're going to step forward and stand up. We're going to do this 2 or 3 times to practice the motion that we're going to be doing during the 20-meter rushes. Step forward, down to the ground, plank, down, hands up, push up, step forward, back to standing position. And this is actually a great exercise to practice at home in preparation for the 20-meter rushes, which is one of the more difficult of the 4 components of the force evaluation. And you're not actually running that much distance. So getting down on the ground and back up again is one of the more difficult portions. So you can strengthen those muscles needed for that activity. So the last thing, at this point, your evaluator can give you a minute or 2 to do any additional warm-ups or stretches that you think are useful for yourself. You can get a drink of water, and we're ready to begin the evaluation. The first of the 4 components is the 20-meter rushes. The purpose of the 20-meter rushes is to assess your physical capability to move quickly over short distances while repeatedly getting in and out of the prone position. You must cover a total of 80 meters in 51 seconds or less. You will start lying down in the prone position with your hands and shoulders behind the line with your hands raised. You will receive a 3, 2, 1, go countdown. On the go command, you will get up and run to the 10-meter line. You will touch 1 foot on or over the line, get down into the prone position perpendicular to the line with your hands and shoulders on or behind the line, and perform a hand release. After your hand release, you will get up and run to the 20-meter line. That is the far end with the pylons. You will touch 1 foot on or over the line, get down into the prone position perpendicular to the line with your hands and shoulders on or behind the line, and perform a hand release. After your hand release at the 20-meter line, you will get up, turn around, and run back to the 10-meter line. That's the center line with the pylons. You will repeat this sequence every 10 meters until you have covered a total of 4 by 20 meters and have completed 7 hand releases in total. An easier way to think about that is that the course from the start line to the finish line is 20 meters. So 4 by 20, 1 is there, 2 is back, 3 is there, 4 is back. So there and back twice. After the successful completion of the 7th hand release, which would be at the center line, you will run through the 80-meter mark. So the start line becomes the finish line when you're coming back on your second time through, and at this point you just run through straight across like a finish line. Once your foot touches or crosses the line, marking the total distance of 80 meters, your time is stopped and recorded to the nearest tenth of a second. This is an important point. If there is a fault, you must correct it before continuing. The 3 most common faults are: your foot does not touch or cross the line at each 10-meter distance, when in the prone position your hands and shoulders are past the line, or you do not perform a hand release after dropping into the prone position. We'll go over all of these faults in more detail in the demo. For safety purposes, you are not allowed to dive or drop into the prone position. If this occurs, the evaluation will be stopped immediately. You will be retrained on the protocol and re-attempt the task after a mandatory 5-minute rest, but not more than 8 minutes. So when I say not to dive or drop, I mean to be in control of your body. We don't want you hitting the ground hard. We don't want you to hurt yourself. If you do not meet the 51-second standard, you can re-attempt this task a maximum of 1 time after a mandatory 5-minute rest, but no more than 8 minutes. Next up, we're going to do a walkthrough demonstration where I'm going to go through more detail and give you some of my own tips and tricks and talk a little bit more about the most common mistakes that people make. Okay, so we can start by getting down into the prone position. And when you're in the prone position, you want to make sure that your hands and shoulders are behind the start line, but it's okay for your head to be across the start line. Next, you're going to lift your hands up off the floor. And when you do a hand release, lifting them off the floor, they don't need to be way up. Even like that is a little bit more than required. Just an inch or 2 so the evaluator can clearly see that they're up off the floor, and that is good enough. Then we're going to count 3, 2, 1, go. Do not get up until you hear the go. 3, 2, 1, go. So you're going to stand up. We're just going to walk through together, and we are going to run to the 10-meter line, the second line. You are going to clearly step 1 foot on or over the line, and you're going to get down into the prone position. So a lot of people, their first time doing it, when you step to the line, if you start to get down on the ground right away in this position, I'm now way in front of the line, and I kind of have to scooch backwards. So a good tip is the touch the line, step back method. We're going to touch the line, and you're going to step back with your feet together, and then get down into the prone position, just like we did in the warm-up, and perform your hand release. Okay, so let's try that. You're going to touch the line, step back, prone position, hand release. Excellent, and you can get up and continue. We're going to go to the far line, and we're going to touch the line and do the step back method. Another common mistake that we get at this point, people will come out like this to get down onto the ground. Do not do this. This is incorrect. We're going to be facing the same direction we were at the center line. We're going to touch the line. We're going to get down in the prone position. We're going to do our hand release. We're going to get up. And that brings up to our next common mistake. When people get up, they very often see that line in front of them. They just want to touch it again. You already touched the line when you first got here. So once you get down and perform your hand release, you're going to immediately get up, turn, and go back to the center line. So let's continue. Touch the line, down, hands up, go. Okay, now when we get to this line, we're just going to review again. We are not going to go outside the course. We are not going to come out here like we were at the beginning. We're going to do the same thing we did at the far end, staying inside the course. We're going to touch the line. We're going to get down into the prone position, do our hand release, good, get up, and immediately turn and run back to the center. So for a real-time demo, touch the line, down, hands up, go. Great job. Touch the line, down, hands up, go. Turning back to the center. Touch the line, down, hands up, go. And remember, straight through the finish line, straight through. Great job. I just point that out because another common mistake that people sometimes make, they're running towards the finish line and they slow down like they're going to stop and touch it like this. You don't do that. You run through it just like you're running a race, and this is the finish line, which you did correctly. Well done. All right, the second component is the sandbag lift. The purpose of the sandbag lift is to assess your physical capability to repeatedly handle various materials. You must complete 30 successful lifts in 3 minutes and 30 seconds or less. The evaluator will count each correct lift out loud for you as the sandbag makes contact with the wall. If you perform an incorrect lift, the evaluator will say no lift, correct you, and the lift will not count, but you just continue the test. You will start standing upright facing the wall with the line on the floor in between your feet, the blue line. If during your lift a part of your foot is touching the line, the lift will not count. You will receive a 3, 2, 1, go countdown. On the go command, you will pick up the sandbag with 2 hands without using the strap and without putting your fingers through the eyelets and press it against the wall. You are allowed to use the pigtail. Depending on what your strong hand is, you can rotate the bag 180 degrees so that the pigtail is on the opposite side if you're able to get a better grip that way. Both hands must be in contact with the sandbag when it is in contact with the wall to demonstrate control. The midline of the sandbag must come to the intersecting lines on the wall or above. Otherwise, that lift will not count. If the sandbag is not horizontal at the time of contact, the entire sandbag must be above the intersecting lines on the wall. Once you've completed a successful lift, you may allow the sandbag to drop to the floor. You will alternate side to side with the line on the floor in between your feet for each lift, completing a total of 30 lifts. That's 15 on each side. Once the 30th sandbag lift is successfully completed, the time is stopped and recorded to the nearest tenth of a second. We suggest lifting with proper form. However, we will not stop you for improper form unless it becomes a safety concern, unless I'm worried that you're going to injure yourself with improper form. A good cue for proper form is to try to remember all of the following. Keep your eyes facing forward, your chest up, shoulder blades retracted, core engaged, lift with your legs, not your back, and keep your knees in line with your feet. Okay, so you can approach the sandbag with 1 foot on either side of the blue line. And a good tip for form, this is a personal tip that I have for form that I find easier because I'm a little bit taller. If you're a little bit taller, I find that in order to keep my form good for my back, I'm going to go a little bit of a wider stance than I would doing squats in the gym because that makes me a little bit lower to the ground. The other tip is, my best tip is to stand a little bit closer to the wall than you might think that you need to. Because if you're too far away from the wall, you're going to have a tendency to lean forward to get the bag, and that's going to get that bad position for your back. If you're a little bit closer, it kind of forces you to stay a little bit more upright and keep that good form for squatting down to pick up the bag. When you pick up the bag, you're not allowed to use the strap or handle, and you cannot put your fingers into the eyelets. However, you are allowed to use the pigtail that sticks out here. And for your other hand, because you can't grip the eyelets, you just got to do your best to scoop some leather. Okay, try to get your hand under there and get a good grip. Okay, so again, we're going to stand close to the wall. We're going to have a relatively wide stance. We're going to squat down, grab the bag around the pigtail and leather, and we're going to lift. Now when you lift, you have to touch the midline to the intersection. So these bags actually have a seam that can be considered the midline. So pressing it like this is acceptable. And also, some people find it more comfortable to push it forward. And then this would be acceptable. Either one can be the midline. If you're tall, it may be easier to go up here and have it across from your chest than to aim for the line. And that's fine, because it just needs to be over the line. Very important point is, once you've touched the wall, just drop the bag. Don't waste energy putting the bag down. This also puts strain on your back. So you're going to touch and drop. Another tip about it being horizontal is, say you squat down, you grab the bag, you lose your grip with this hand, and now it's vertical. Now, midline is no good. If the bag is vertical, it must be completely over the line, or you can adjust it back to horizontal and touch the line. And drop. Once you've performed one lift, you're going to hop over to the other side and perform a lift on this side. Okay, so let's see a couple here. Good technique, drop, switch back, good technique, perfect. Okay, so let's go from the start and do the test.
And another tip is to keep your nails short for the sandbag lift, or if you do have long nails or fake nails, you could put some tape on them. You just don't want anything to catch on those bags when you're lifting them. Nobody wants to have a broken nail.
3, 2, 1, go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 26, 27, 3 more, 28, 29, last one, 30. Great job. All right, the third component is the intermittent loaded shuttles. The purpose of the intermittent loaded shuttles is to assess your physical capability to repeatedly carry loads. You must complete 10 shuttles, they're a total of 40 meters each, for a total distance of 400 meters, alternating between 5 loaded, that's with a sandbag, and unloaded, that's with no sandbag, shuttles, in 5 minutes and 21 seconds or less. So you have lots of time for this one. The force evaluator will count each of your shuttles out loud for you. For example, this is your second loaded shuttle. You can pick up and carry the sandbag using any of the following techniques, which I'll demonstrate in a moment. The suitcase carry, the shoulder carry, the cradle carry, or I also like the football carry. You'll start standing upright behind the 20-meter line. You'll receive a 3, 2, 1, go countdown. On the go command, you'll pick up the sandbag and perform one loaded shuttle, that's with the sandbag, around the 20-meter cone at the far end and back. If you knock down the cone during a shuttle, the evaluator will instruct you to return to fix it before continuing with the task. Timing of the evaluation will not be stopped. If you do not travel around the cone at the 20-meter mark, the evaluator will instruct you to return to the 20-meter mark and travel around the cone. Timing of the evaluation will not be stopped. During your loaded shuttles, you must walk. If you start to run or jog, the evaluator will direct you to stop completely. Once you have come to a complete stop, you can proceed to walk. Once you are back at the start line after completing a shuttle, you must touch one foot on or over the line and then place the sandbag entirely over the line. If the sandbag is placed inside the 20-meter zone or is touching the line, the force evaluator will instruct you to correct this fault before continuing. If you throw the sandbag instead of dropping it behind the line, the evaluator will instruct you to pick up the sandbag and place it behind the line. Once the sandbag is clear of the line, you will go transition to your unloaded shuttle. During your unloaded shuttles, you may walk, jog, or run. Once you have returned from your unloaded shuttle with no sandbag, you have completed 2 out of your 10 shuttles. You may set the sandbag down at any point to rest or to adjust your grip, but time will not be stopped. Once you have crossed the start line after your final shuttle, your time is stopped and recorded to the nearest tenth of a second. Have any questions? Okay, let's get on with the demonstration. Okay, so first, as you can see here, we've adjusted the course slightly, that at the far end, there's now one cone in the center rather than one cone on either side. That's because you actually have to go around the cone when you're performing your shuttles. So second of all, we're going to start behind the start line. We are going to have the sandbag on the ground in front of us. You cannot pick the sandbag up until I say go. We're going to say 3, 2, 1, go, and you can pick up the bag. So I'm going to demonstrate some of the different carrying techniques. For this one, you are allowed to use the strap, so you can simply pick it up by the strap and carry it in what we call the suitcase carry. If your arm gets tired, you can switch arms. Next, we have the cradle carry, which can be both hands under the bag, carrying it in front of your body like this. A variation of that is what I call the football carry. We're going to have one arm underneath, one arm over the top, kind of carrying it next to your body like this. And then finally, we have the over-the-shoulder carry, which I think is one of the most popular. So you can get low, get some momentum, pick the bag up from the strap, and throw it right up over your shoulder. Okay, so once you've picked up the bag, you can start walking, and you can just walk with me and follow along. And when you're doing a loaded shuttle with the sandbag, you cannot run. So even a small jog like this, you're going to be directed by the evaluator to stop. You must stop completely, and you cannot continue until the evaluator says you can go. This time again, we've adjusted the cone, so you actually have to go around the pylon and back to the start line. As you complete your loaded shuttle, you are first going to touch one foot clearly on or over the line, and you're then going to drop, not throw, the bag. If you drop the bag and it's touching the line, it must be completely over the line, so you have to correct this fault. Don't kick the bag. It's a heavy sandbag, you're going to hurt yourself. Grab the handle, give it a little screw forward. Once it's completely clear of the line, you can then continue with your unloaded shuttle. For unloaded shuttle, you are allowed to run. You don't have to sprint. A nice jog like this is going to be fast enough for you to be able to successfully pass the test. When you return to the start, you clearly touch one foot on the line, and you can then pick up the bag and begin your next loaded shuttle. All right, so for the intermittent loaded shuttles, on the 3, 2, 1, go command, you can pick up the bag. 3, 2, 1, go. You can use the strap, carry it any carrying technique that you like, and begin your first loaded shuttle. Again, you cannot run. If you run, stop. You must come to a complete stop until the evaluator says that you may continue. Make sure you go around the pylon. If you kick over the pylon, you'll stop and pick it up. You may continue. Best advice, be careful, try not to kick over that pylon. This is a perfectly good pace. You can speed walk, but you don't need to in order to meet the 5 minutes. Touch the line, clearly foot over the line, drop the bag. The bag is completely over the line, so you can continue with your unloaded shuttle. Here, you're allowed to walk, jog, or run. A medium jog is fast enough to successfully pass the test. Touch the line, pick up the bag, and you would now continue your next shuttle. So what we've just demonstrated is one loaded and one unloaded shuttle. You have to do 5 of each. So that was 2 out of 10. So what you just did there, we would do 5 more times. All right, it's time for the 4th component, the sandbag drag. Before we continue with the sandbag drag, I'm just going to review a couple of important points. Number 1, you must be successful on all 4 components of the force evaluation in order to pass. If you're unsuccessful on any one of the 4, there is a 30-day waiting period before you can then retest. And you must, when you retest, complete the entire test, all 4 components, in the same order, not just the one that you were unsuccessful on. And the last point is that there's no authorized alternative or modifications to any of the components of the evaluation. You must complete each section as per the instructions. The purpose of the sandbag drag is to assess your physical capability to drag a load over a distance of 20 meters. You must drag the sandbags continuously over a distance of 20 meters. There is no time limit. You have an unlimited amount of time. However, you must complete the drag without stopping and without using the handles or straps. So it must be one continuous drag. You'll start by picking up the carry sandbag and holding it using the cradle carry. That's with both hands underneath the sandbag. Your fingers can be laced or crossed. I'll go over this again in the demonstration. You ensure that the straps are coming out from the bottom of the sandbag without it wrapping around the sandbag and without any tangles, without it wrapping around your arms or anything like that. Once you are ready, you will walk backwards until you feel tension in the strap. Once you feel tension in the strap, check with the force evaluator to ensure they're ready. We'll make sure that you're ready. And once you confirm that you're both ready, you can begin at your discretion. There's no countdown for this one. You can begin pulling, and I will start the stopwatch once the sandbags cross the start line. Once your movement has started, you must drag the sandbags to the opposite 20-meter line without stopping. Once the front row of sandbags touches the 20-meter line, you will hear the command clear. When the command clear is given, your time is stopped and recorded to the nearest tenth of a second. Okay, so to clarify on that, keep dragging. It's not over when you cross the finish line, but you also don't have to get this entire thing across the finish line. It's when the front edge of the dragging sandbags break the plane of the finish line, just like how they are now with the start line. That's when you've gone exactly 20 meters and that's when the test is complete. If you do not cover the 20 meters due to lack of control, for example, you fall down or lose your grip on the bag, you can re-attempt this task one time after a mandatory 5-minute rest, but no longer than 8 minutes. If you do not cover the 20 meters due to fitness, for example, you can't move anymore and your forward movement stops because you can't continue the motion, then your task is terminated and there is no reattempt. Okay, so for picking up the sandbag, yes, you can use the strap just for picking it up because the test hasn't started yet. So you can use it to help yourself get into position. So I'm going to pick up the sandbag and I'm going to go to the cradle carry and I'm going to make sure that the strap is on the bottom of the bag. So I'm going to make sure the strap is on the bottom. I'm going to make sure I have one arm on each side of the strap, that I'm not tangled, that it's not tangled, everything is good. I'm going to hold the bag close to my body and I'm going to walk backwards until the strap is tight. When you're pulling, this is my recommended form, is to have your arms bent and have it locked in against your chest or against your body. However, this is not mandatory. It's okay to pull it with your hands out like this. I just find it's a little harder to have a good grip. And it's also okay to lace your fingers and hold it like this. However, you cannot grab on to the strap or the handle while you're dragging. Some more of my personal tips for technique is to bend your knees, get a little bit low, lean back, let the sandbags take your body weight. With your bent knees and leaning back, you can really dig in with your heels to get some momentum going forward. My other tip is to take small steps, and I'll demonstrate that in a moment. Okay, so once you're in position, the evaluator is going to say, ready? You say ready. You can then begin at your own time, and the stopwatch will start once your momentum starts. Okay, so for demonstration purposes, if I'm doing big steps, you can see it sliding and almost stopping with every step. If I do small steps, it's a nice even glide, much easier to keep my momentum. One more important point for those watching at home about the weight that you see here is that it may not be the same amount of weight depending on where you do the test. The way that the weight is calculated is based on the force needed to pull it and to get it to slide. So we calibrate by measuring with a luggage weighing device where we'll pull and get the correct amount of resistance for sliding on the floor. Because depending on how slippery or grippy different types of surfaces are on the floor can determine how much weight is needed to get that same amount of resistance when you're pulling. So if we have 4 sandbags, a 5th on top, and an extra 25-pound weight, where you're doing the test, it may be slightly more or slightly less to get the same calibration. Okay, ready? Okay, so you can approach the sandbag. You can lift using the handle and then get both arms underneath in the cradle carry. Make sure that there's no tangles. Everything there looks good to me. Make sure the strap's on the bottom. You're going to back up slowly. And yes, you are allowed to clasp your hands like that. That's good technique. You're not grabbing onto the handle or the straps. Straps are tight. You backed up till the straps were tight. That's good. You're ready. I'm ready. So you can begin on your own time, and I'll start the stopwatch when you start with forward momentum. Good. Good technique. Good momentum. Sliding forward nice and evenly. Excellent. Your grip on the bag is good. You're staying locked in. You're halfway there. Doing very well. Keep pulling. Keep it nice and steady. 3/4. Almost there. Great technique. Excellent. Pull, 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 pull. Clear. Great job. Congratulations. You passed the Canadian Armed Forces Force Evaluation, or PROFs for applicants. Well done. All right, following completion of the evaluation, we will do a cool down to make sure people have a chance to recover before they go home. Members will walk 2 to 5 minutes in the evaluation area while under the supervision of the evaluator, or until their heart rate returns to a point where they can carry on a conversation. We don't want you to be out of breath. You're then encouraged to perform each static cool down exercise 1 or 2 times, holding for 30 seconds each, including chest stretch, which can be performed while walking, upper back stretch, a shoulder stretch, hip flexor stretch, quadriceps stretch, hamstring, abductor stretch, and a glute stretch. So Whatever stretches are most comfortable for you, the important thing is that you're getting a cool down and you're catching your breath and relaxing your body before you go home. Applicants should not leave the evaluation area until they receive their briefing and their heart rate has returned below 100 beats per minute, and or can carry on a conversation that you've caught your breath. So for the debriefing, we're going to let you know if you successfully met the standard for the profs or force evaluation, whether you're eligible for enrollment based on the universality of service requirement. If you are unsuccessful, we'll let you know what portion you are unsuccessful on. We will give you some guidance on how to improve, and we will look at booking an appointment for a second attempt after the 30-day waiting period. Sailor Second Class Marie, thank you so much for participating in our force evaluation today and helping out with all the demos. And finally, before we go, do you have any advice that you would give to applicants coming in to complete their force evaluation?
My best advice to give to new applicants coming into their force evaluation is just to get a good night's rest before you come in, bring a bottle of water, and bring your very best effort, and that's all you can do.